Good morning, Alice.
What should the U.S. response be to this apparent chemical or gas attack on the Syrian people, where we know at this hour 11 children have been killed under the age of 8?
You know, we've seen this movie before. It was when Barack Obama said that they would have a red line, they crossed it, and he did nothing. And Bashar Assad and his friends, the Russians, take note of what Americans say. I'm sure they took note of what our Secretary of State said just the other day, that the Syrian people would be determining their own future themselves. That one of the more incredible statements I've ever heard, given the involvement of Hezbollah, of the Iranians, of the Russians, and of course the barrel bombing and precision strikes by Russian aircraft into hospitals in Aleppo. So I'm sure they're encouraged to know that the United States is withdrawing and seeking some kind of new arrangement with the Russians, and it is another disgraceful chapter in American history, and it was predictable.
So, Senator, what do you want to see President Trump do?
I want him to hear him say, we're going to arm the Free Syrian Army. We are going to dedicate ourselves to the removal of Bashar Assad. We're going to have the Russians pay a price for their engagement. The Iranians and Hezbollah are also heavily involved. All players here are going to have to pay a penalty, and the United States of America is going to be on the side of people who fight for freedom, and we will not sit by and watch chemical weapons being used to slaughter innocent women and children. You might remember when the pictures were smuggled out before by a wonderful man named Cesar of those who were victims of chemical attacks. Didn't we learn a lesson when Barack Obama refused to do anything?
Senator, that is completely different than what the administration is saying. I mean, you just paraphrased what Secretary of State Tillerson said about the long-term status of President Assad will be decided by the Syrian people. And then UN Ambassador Nikki Haley went further, some say. She said, quote, our priority is no longer to sit and focus on getting Assad out.
Well, the United States of America is known to help people who want to freedom and democracy. None of us are arguing for American troops on the ground there to fight against Bashar Assad, but we certainly believe that we can fight ISIS and we can help people who are struggling against this incredibly, one of the great brutal dictators in history, Bashar Assad and his minions. There was a front page story in the Washington Post yesterday about the torture of thousands and thousands and murder of thousands and thousands in Damascus. I mean, these are war crimes on the scale that almost unmatched since Nazi Germany or Pol Pot.